Hello, welcome to Infinite Prattle, the continuation of series, season, whatever. I don't know what I'm calling it. Season. I think it changes depending on what day, whether I call it season or series. But we're number 4 anyway. We're number 4. How are you? Hope you're well. Today's episode, I'm going to make a snap decision about what I'm going to talk about. I've got a few things in my brain, and I've decided. I did a live stream briefly before recording this. And I've decided that it's going to be about swearing. That's all I can tell you. You're listening to Infinite Prattle with your host, Stephen. Thanks for joining me for unscripted, unedited, everything. Thank you, me, for that wonderful intro. I'm in a weird mood today. The coffee's kicking in, I think. I'm recording this at 1:30 in the afternoon, or 2 o'clock, actually. I keep saying 1:30, but it's just gone 2 o'clock on a Sunday. And as you know, this podcast comes out at about 5 o'clock every Sunday. So, close to the bone this week. I think we're going to try and get to the habit to record the next week's one the week before. So even if I am like cutting it to the bone, it's only going to be the next following weeks anyway. So the one going out on that day is already done. Does that make sense? Did I say that in the most difficult way possible? So what I'm saying is I'll record a week in advance, so there's no panic from my end. I think that's what I'm going to try to do. And I'm not really going to. I'm going to try and refrain, if possible, from mentioning episode numbers. So then I could just maybe record a few podcasts in one go and just decide on their order after and see the release date afterwards. Anyway, that's admin for me to talk through. That's something for me to work out in my own brain, away from the podcast. But good news, we do have a few guests lined up. We've already had Johnny's part 1. We've got Dex. Exciting news. Dex's episode is going to be in a couple of weeks' time, but it's already been recorded. He's got 2 episodes, and it's the first video one we've got. So don't expect like studio quality, because it's been recorded online. But I'm very excited. It was very enjoyable. Dex is brilliant. We had a good chat. He can prattle with the best of them along with me, so it was interesting. We kind of went down a dark path at one point, and a dark but strangely positive path, I feel, and a reflective path. And then on the second episode, he talks about his career change and his life choice to become a voiceover artist, which is pretty exciting. And really, if you're into that sort of thing, or if you're looking to that career, really interesting to see what he has to do to try and be successful. And he's on the first couple of steps of that journey. So I think it's a really interesting episode. I really enjoyed speaking to him. And it's a bit of a milestone for the podcast, and it's made me think now whether I should do more video and put the effort in, and because it wasn't too hard, and I think that I was more bothered about the editing process afterwards. Let's face it, but I think it's going to be okay. So yeah, I just don't want to overwhelm myself with stuff. And I know I say I'm slapdash and I don't edit anything and stuff like that, but I do want the podcast to be as good as it can be. I am a perfectionist, weirdly enough. You wouldn't think it the way I talk, but I deep down really want it to be the best it can be. Yeah, so anyway, so swearing, profanity. I don't have a problem with swearing. My podcast is listed as adult material, even if the subject matter isn't particularly adult. I don't want to restrict myself from having, not being able to say the word shit, fuck, or anything like that. So on YouTube and on my release for my podcast when I upload it, it's shown as adult and adult language basically. Because firstly, I slip the odd word in that I don't realize. I slip the odd F-bomb in and shit and piss and sometimes the old C word that lots of people really, really hate. And I feel like I should say it now, but then I also don't want to. And that's weird, isn't it? Because I don't care. But, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say you all know what I'm saying. Or thinking. But yeah, I think it's I think it's really strange how people perceive swearing, and I think swearing in certain contexts is good, and it feels good as well. There are times where you probably should shy away from it, and a bit of etiquette maybe around what language you use. So when I was younger, I never swore. When I was a kid, I mean, you hear children now swearing left, right, and centre, and shouting at each other down the street and stuff. And I never did that. I was probably quite old when I even started kind of semi swearing at school. It wasn't just part of my language. My mum and dad would never allow profanity in the house. They were quite strict with what words were classed as swearing as well. So like you could say like stuff like damn, but bloody was classed as a swear word. So if you said oh bloody hell, like you'd get a clip or told off for it. Because there was like a bit of a religion in the house. My mum and dad used to attend church. So we weren't really allowed to, say God or Jesus and stuff like that. So we were kind of warned away from that. So yeah, I suppose we were quite, me and my brother were quite like, I suppose to some people, we were probably quite angelic. That's what, in that sense anyway, in the language used. They used to say flip a lot. Oh, flipping heck. Like, which is hilarious. Flipping heck. Which sounds funny as an adult. Say that as an adult, you probably get more weird looks than actually just saying fuck. So, which is bizarre. But yeah, I just think the way people react to language is quite extreme as well. Like you'll get some people where they get really offended if someone says the word shit or fuck in general conversation. And I find that bizarre. But again, it's situational as well. If you've got small kids around, you don't want to be. I wouldn't particularly want to be throwing the F-bomb around or swearing in general, really, in front of children, because I think that's because how I was brought up. And also, kids' innocence today is so taken away from them that I feel like that introduction of swearing, as well as all the other things that get thrown at them today, is just one extra thing that they don't really need. So I would probably try and shy my kids away. I would really curb my behavior as regards to swearing. I think if I had kids, I think I would really make the effort to not swear, and teach them not to swear as well. Teach them that it's bad, not the thing to do. So when did I start swearing? So when did the swears come out of me? Well, obviously at school, when you're in high school, so 15, 16, I used to like drop the odd curse, but it was really more to impress people. I think at school, like in certain situations, like swearing is kind of an expected part of a conversation in certain ways. Peer pressure, I'm talking about, really. So I kind of felt obliged to use the odd F-bomb, say shit, piss, and all the other things. I never really said the word cunt. I've said it now. I've said it. I've done it. I've said it. I never really used that word. And I think that's probably because my mum hates it so much. It was deemed such a terrible word. There was other words that my mum didn't like us using that referred to like potentially like disabilities and stuff like that, which when I was younger were probably like thrown around quite a lot, but probably not maybe in a malicious way for maybe some of the intentions of it. It was just like, this is an insulting word. There's no malice to the people that it might actually be intended for, if you know what I mean. So, the word spastic, for example, like that used to be a word that was used quite a lot when I was a kid, especially with some of the people that I used to hang around with. My mum hated that word, and as an adult, I don't like it neither. I wouldn't like to hear people, say that word. But as a kid, it was not, and it wasn't probably aimed at people with a disability. It was just like you just say to your mate, "That's what you are," and it was an insult in general. It was just basically like, you're an idiot, and that's kind of how it was. Well, from my point of view, anyway. So. Words like that you don't really hear a lot anymore because of kind of how the world's gone. We're meant to be caring and think about other people's feelings constantly, which has gone too far in my opinion. But that's a subject for another day. You probably have 10 you could probably have a whole podcast just about that, wokeness, etc. And I do agree with, like, managing people's expectations and kind of thinking about what you say. But if someone's really offended by something, they have the right to say, "I'm offended by that," but they don't have the right to stop you, in some sense. Um, Although ironically, swearing is technically a thing you can be arrested for. So profanity in the UK, if you're in front of a police officer and you're swearing excessively, um, or using that language at someone more to the point, you can actually be cautioned and arrested for it. I'm not a solicitor, so I'm not sure what degree to, but I think it's more like you get like a fine probably, for like breach of the peace or something, or something like that. Can't think of the section code it is. I want to say section 4, but I think it might be a section 5 breach. The UK has that, like, we have, like, obviously a code of conduct that the police obviously follow, and yeah, I think it might be section 4. I can't remember. Anyway, you can be done for it, like, showing profanity, but it's normally if someone complains about it, someone has to kind of like complain about it for it to be kind of enforced. Let's say. It's I think that's more difficult nowadays because language swearing in the traditional sense has become part of our language nowadays. Like you hear people in general conversation now will swear as if it's just a general word in the dictionary. I used to know someone that literally, I don't know how they can manage to fit so many F's in a sentence, but literally I've never heard someone manage to stick so many F words in this whole sentence. Every other word would be fuck or fucking or frig or shit or bollocks or anything that could fit in. Like every two, maybe one word would be a swear word. Which is kind of humorous, but like again, not in certain situations. Um, but yeah, it's just a weird one because I swear quite a lot now. It's come from basically me starting on in the world of work. When I started in a warehouse. One of my very first proper jobs was in a warehouse, and again, like that that talk between people, they were swearing and stuff. But it was a job where you kept yourself to yourself, didn't really interact too much, did swear a little bit, and then I started college. And the swearing probably got a little bit more at college. You're an adult now. You're 17, 18, and you're an adult, and it's like, well, when you're an adult, you can just do what you want. The language is mine. I can say what I want. Mum can't tell me now what to say. Technically couldn't when I was 7. Really, I could have just swore anyway. But you think of yourself like in a more mature way, and that you're an adult and such things. And I think I started thinking, I can say what I want. If I want to say that word, I can. But I think where it really changed is joining the railway. When I joined the railway, very much language of industry, swearing. Obviously not to the customers, but when you're in the mess room, and yeah, I started to swear a lot more. I found, and then not so much outside of the railway, but more just when I was in work. But then the more you do it in one sense, it kind of bleeds through to the other. So the more I did it in the work environment, the more I did it in my home environment. I do kind of want to swear a bit less, really. Yesterday for me, I swore a lot. I was in a very, very disgruntled mood yesterday. Um, People's driving's terrible. People's reactions to things are terrible, and the whole world was getting me a bit down yesterday. And I was venting and swearing quite a lot while I was driving around, being a grumpy old middle-aged bastard, basically. And I was thinking to myself, I need to swear less. Like, I really do need to swear less. It's not good. It's not good. Um, but you have days like that, I think, and then I have days where I don't really swear at all. But swearing's great for emphasis on things. If you're angry or you're telling a story, it can kind of add so much. And I remember um, Billy Connolly like talking about the word fuck, saying that it's a great word and he loved it, and It's one of the best words if you use it correctly. I love my mum swearing. She swears a bit more now than she used to. Still not loads. I feel she does it to impress me. Um, I don't know, like mimic of behavior or something. But she's hilarious when she swears because she should not swear. She is a bad swearer. Like she hesitates when she's about to swear. It's not natural for her at all. And some of the swear words that she uses just make me laugh, and it kind of detracts from whatever story she's telling. Like if she's telling like a story about like being annoyed about something, it really detracts from it because she does not swear well. Um, in fact, I wish she wouldn't swear because it always makes me laugh, and she always gets angry with me because she'll be telling this really serious story, and I just burst out laughing. But yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? That where do we draw the line between what's acceptable and what's not? And I think it's just personal preference, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's like everything. It's like everything. If you want to be called, if you want to be, you want to identify as a bin, then do so. If you say, that's enough swearing for me. But if you're hanging around with people like that, it's kind of like if you're hanging around with someone that swears a lot and you don't like swearing, there's a couple of things that can happen. You can either just just be okay because that's the way that person is, and just kind of accept it, or you can kind of ask the person to swear less when they're around you, which is somewhat controlling, but might be okay because the other person might go, you know what, I do swear quite a lot. You're probably right. Like I hope I'm not offending anyone else. And they might have a reflection, or you might just not want to be friends with that person. Maybe they're not the person for you. But yeah, it's a delicate thing. I remember a story actually. Before I sign off and forget what I was going to talk about, I used to have a T-shirt. I've had a couple of T-shirts over the years with swearing on. Not, I wouldn't say really really bad. And this goes to go show, like, kind of, I'll end on this story, little anecdote, and this kind of shows the way society is and stereotypes and what may surprise you. So I had been to the Download Festival, probably in 2006, 2007, maybe 2008. I can't remember which one it was. I'd bought a T-shirt, and on the front it was like a grey T-shirt. It had Download Festival logo on the top, and then on the front, like a small one on the top left, and on the back it had like Download Festival with the year, and it said, "I got fucked again." As in, got fucked again at the Download Festival. Have a good time. That's it. For my American friends, know this is a thing over there, and for people around the world listening, in the UK, you go out and have a good night. You say, "Oh, I got fucked last night," and it doesn't mean had sex. It can do, but it basically, getting wasted. You got out and you had a nice time. And you probably got drunk and probably can't remember parts of it. So basically, that's what it said on the back of this T-shirt. And I remember I was walking to the shops with my dad. We parked up and we were walking across the road to the shops, and this guy in a suit behind me, firmly like rattled me on the shoulder as we were crossing the road, and I was like, "You all right, pal?" And he was like, "I'm really offended by that T-shirt. You need to cover it up or turn it inside out." But it wasn't really like it wasn't like a request. He was like telling me, and I was like, "I'm sorry you're offended, but no," basically. And he was like, "Oh well," he's very much of the "Do you know who I am?" Very much a male Karen, as you would call it today. And he was apparently he was like a member of a local member of parliament or on the council or something like that. So, I was just like, "Well, no, I'm not. It's just a T-shirt." And he basically was going on about how offended he was. He basically said, "What if a child saw it?" And I said, "Well, if a child saw it, and if they could read it, I would hope that they've been brought up in a way that they know this is probably a bad word and the context it's in, and that they probably shouldn't say it, but it's up to them if they do." And he didn't accept this. And he basically said he was going to call the police and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Do what you want, mate." I mean, my dad walked off. My dad got a bit annoyed as well, but I was probably like, what, 22, 23 at the time. So he was kind of letting me handle the situation myself. I'm pretty good with conflict, I think. And I basically walked away from him in the end because he was being pathetic, and he was basically saying, he was trying to make a scene, and everyone was like looking at him as if say you're an arse. And then separately, probably a few weeks later, because it didn't stop me wearing the T-shirt, I was in a supermarket, and this little old lady came up behind me, and she tapped me and she goes, "Oh, that thing it says on the back of your t-shirt." And I thought, "Oh God, here we go again." Like, gonna get into something here with this old lady because she doesn't like my t-shirt. And I said, "Yes, love." I said, "I know it's got a swear word on. I'm sorry." And she was like, "Oh, I don't care about that." She went, "Was it in a good way?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" She went, "Did you get fucked in a good way?" And I was really shocked because she was like the most cute little old lady. And I was like, yeah, we had a great time, thanks, at the festival. She was like, "Oh, wonderful." And she like kind of like squeezed my arm in like pleasure and walked off with a big grin on her face. Obviously kind of like maybe it's jigs some memories from her childhood when she was young, free, and did what she wanted. And the t-shirt weirdly made her chuckle, basically. So it just goes to show like what swearing in society has, different impact on people. Like this guy who's he'd say it was a bit snooty, and probably a bit self-absorbed, thought he had some power in the local area, said he was offended and didn't like the look of it, probably thought it was bad reflection on the local area. And then another lady, elderly, probably well into her 70s, thought it was hilarious. So yeah, it just goes to show. So, and what do you think of swearing? Do you swear at all? Do you if you listen to my podcast, you're gonna hear swearing. And should I apologize for that? I don't know. Like, there's a warning. Like, if you don't like swearing, then you're gonna hear it. I can't say fairer than that. But do you swear? What do you think of swearing? Should children swear? Do you think it's bad if you heard a young child say the word fuck or shit? And at what age is it acceptable to swear? Is it like, is 16 the cutoff? Is like teenager, or is it you become an adult? That's when you choose what language you can use. Interested to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah, well, thank you very much for listening. I think I'll wrap it up there. Yeah, swearing. It's a topic, isn't it? It's a topic. I think it's pretty much coming out. It's in our language now, isn't it? So we're not going to get rid of it. It's just knowing when to use it effectively, I would say. And it can be effective. The word fuck is effective. Anyway, I think this is the most swearing heavy podcast I've ever done. Yeah, well, thank you very much for listening. Check out the website and all that jazz. And I will speak to you soon. And check out next week's episode, which will be part 2 of Johnny's Vietnam motorcycle adventures. So yeah, take care. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for listening to Infinite Prattle with your host, Stephen. Follow me on social networks at Infinite Prattle, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much.